wonderful to be able to give a talk again here. I have been again travelling around again, and on this particular trip started off here in London just about 2 weeks ago and gave a talk at the Thames Buddhist Vihara and the London Buddhist Society before going off to Canada to teach at the University of Toronto and then McGill and then Dalhousie universities. And it's fascinating, in some of those universities, in Dalhousie and also in University of Toronto, I was giving lectures on Buddhism and mental health and psychology, because this is a huge growing area in our Western world, where some of these great teachings of the Buddha are being at last valued and are being brought into mainstream Western culture, in medicine, in obviously mental health, and also into business as well. And it's great to see that Buddhism comes to a country like England, and it actually spreads into areas of life where it can really make a huge difference. And it's great to be part of that. And after that, went to Hamburg. And even there, in the University of Hamburg, we gave a talk where many people came because there's an interest, even in the academia, of what Buddhism can offer. So you can see this is a huge step for Buddhism in our modern world, to actually go out to these universities and other places like business schools. Just got an invitation next February to go to the Google campus in San Francisco for the whole day. Actually to teach Google, just how to search properly. And all of those things who show the power of the Dhamma. But when I did give a talk somewhere, one of those places, on the challenges of Buddhism for the 21st century, that was in Dalhousie over in Canada, I did make a mention of a friend I have over in Perth, Western Australia, and he is a professor of physics at our local university. Because I still really keep a great interest in physics, and many physicists come to my talks, and I manage actually to talk to them, to relate to them, and also to learn from them as well. And this one particular professor, he seems to be so open to Buddhism, and I asked him, aren't you a Buddhist? And he said that he was very interested in Buddhism when he was a young man, maybe 20, 30 years ago. And he actually travelled to Thailand to try and learn some Buddhism. But unfortunately, all he found was a thick mass of rituals which no one could explain to him. And he never learned how to meditate. He was told to bow first of all, and light some incense, and do some offerings and stuff. And because of that, he left that country thinking that was all there was to Buddhism. And it was such a great waste, that we have these gorgeous teachings and they're not really sort of spread in a very useful, easily understandable, accessible way. And so it's from that experience that I coined the phrase that sometimes the cloud of incense smoke obscures the Buddha in some of these temples. The clouds of incense smoke stand for the rituals which we do. And the Buddha statue behind it, the truth, the Dhamma, all this great teaching, you just can't see it because it's clouded by all these rituals. And sometimes people say, well, what are the rituals of Buddhism? There's not that many rituals which we have to do and keep. And sometimes we wonder where those rituals actually come from. And I know that this is not the Sri Lankan tradition, but the Chinese tradition. Because I went to some of these Chinese temples and Mahayana temples in Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong. And I couldn't believe it, that when a Chinese person goes into the temple, they've got a big bowl for the incense. And they take the incense and they shake it before they put it into the bowl. Have you ever seen that in Sri Lanka? No, but you go to China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, they always do that, they shake it. And I asked them, why do you do that? They didn't know. They just said, when I went to the temple, my grandmother told me that's what I was supposed to do. I just followed her. And that gave me the answer. Because I think it's also the case in Sri Lanka. There are many Sri Lankans here. The first person which takes you into the temple is your grandmother. And she shows you what to do. And it's the same in Chinese Buddhism. Your grandmother shows you what to do. And there must have been a lot of grandmothers in China or in spaces, because they had Parkinson's disease, that they shook their hands when they put the thing into the bowl. And the children, the grandchildren, thought that's what I have to do as well. And there we developed the customer shaking the instead, because you just follow what other people do without realising that she's doing that because she can't hold them still. But you may be only 6 or 7 years of age, you hold them still and put them in properly.